Hello, welcome to my utility room from my home in Bath. This is a few days after my recent Shakedown camp where I made a couple of videos about my upcoming cycle tour to Norfolk next month. One of my subscribers, you know who you are, asked me about making a video about what I took that I shouldn't have done and did I forget anything, and I was thinking of doing something similar anyway because there was a couple of bits of kit that I was going to show you that I didn't, just through time constraints, and also I didn't want to make the video too long. So that's what this video is about. I'll show you some of the things I took that I shouldn't have done, possibly why. There was nothing I forgot to take, although there will be one change. I'll tell you what that is. And also I'll show you a bit of kit that I was going to demonstrate. There just really wasn't enough time, and I'm conscious I didn't want to make the video too long. Plus the fact there's one slight error I made in the narration, and when I came home and checked it, I wanted to put that right. So that's what's coming up. So first up, I took my winter puffer jacket. It's not quite as bad as it looks. That really does fold down really small, but I took that and there's no need for it. What I normally do in the summer is just rely on my cycling waterproof. If I'm a bit chilly in the evening, I'll just put that on. It acts as a windbreaker if there's a little bit of wind. I also took a pair of tracksuit bottoms. That may seem a bit lamentable now, bearing in mind we're in this extreme heat wave at the moment, but it is based on previous experience. I remember one of my early cycle tours abroad. Me and my partner went cycling in the Alps in May. We wanted to beat the crowds. What we didn't realise, because there was no internet in those days, was a lot of the summits were still covered in snow, and a couple of times in particular we were up to our waist in snow, just literally getting over the summit and down the other side. I vividly remember diving in this cafe down in the valleys, and we just had to have hot drinks to warm up, and we were both shaking, and we had to go to a department store and buy some woolly gloves. So that's always stayed with me, really. Even though it's warm when you leave, don't underestimate how bad it could be, but that really was unnecessary. On the plus side, it simulated the clothing bags that I will be taking. I will be taking more clothes. As I said, I take 3 changes, and there'll probably be 2 casual changes as well. So there will be clothes bags, but maybe not quite as bulky as big as that. Mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, there's my German army ground sheet. But I took that old B&Q lightweight one as well. I was thinking afterwards, what possessed me to do that? And then I suddenly realised the last time I went camping was winter camping, where I do generally take 2 ground sheets. In the winter, when I'm hot tent camping, inside the sleeping section of my tent, I use that underneath my ground sheet. Thermal reasons, and also to try and give a little bit more protection to my air mattress, stop any sharp spikes coming up, puncturing it. And then when I arrive, I do put that down because that's the one that's likely to get soggy and wet. So that's the reason. It's not an excuse. It was a mistake. I should not have taken that. So that was the 2 mistakes I made. I believe it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. As my business mentor told me, it's not a crime to make a mistake, but it's a crime if you keep making the same mistake and you don't learn from it. So I've got 2 Trangia fuel bottles. This is the one I took on the recent camping trip. That's okay for overnights. In fact, it's okay for several nights. That's 500 millilitres, half a litre. On my summer cycle tour, I would take the full up litre. And I'll probably have to top that up at some time during the week as it starts to diminish. This one, the smaller of the 2, the half litre, that will fit in one of my pannier rear pockets and allow the zip to be done up. That one will also fit in one of the rear pannier pockets, but it won't allow the zip to be done up. The zip will come around there, so that bit will be exposed. So that's a bit of kit that I didn't take the other day, but I know I'll be taking that next month in June. This little mini pump is what I normally take on my touring bike. It clips into one of those bottle cage pump holders and it stays on the frame all the time, but it's not really adequate pumping up modern day wide tyres. So I've invested in one of these Rock Bros e-pumps. I've never used it in anger on the road, and even on this video I had to stop and think, oh, how do I use it? So I'm a great believer in flashcards, just 4 simple instructions rather than thinking on the road, it could be in the rain, you could be under a little bit of duress. I don't want to be thinking, oh, how does it work again? So I use flashcards. I found them really, really effective for learning and memorising things. So just 4 simple instructions. Hold down the power button on the right hand side, about 3 seconds, and it will come on. Press that nozzle onto the valve and then short click on the button on the right hand side. You'll see it's quite loud. It's noticeably louder than my air mattress pump. You'll also see there's a digital display there. So it's currently set at 35 psi. So if I put that into my touring bike tyres, the Schwalbe Marathons, it would pump the tyres up to 35 psi and then cut off. And then there's a plus button there. I can add it. Below there's a minus button. You try and get a close up so you can see those 2 buttons. It's a plus and a minus. And then to turn it off, just hold the power button down 3 seconds and that should go off. There you go. I keep that in that little weatherproof bag that it came with, and the folded up flashcard. It packs down really small. Size wise, it fits on my hand like that. The one other thing I would say is it does get very hot. There's even a red warning label on there. Can you see? Hot caution. But I thought it would be good to actually test this with a timer. So there's one of my spare wheels for the touring bike. It's a Schwalbe Marathon 28 by 2 inch wide tyre. So obviously a lot of volume in there. And there's a 700C wheel that I use on my Thorn Audax bikes. So we'll pump both of those up. I'll use a timer on my phone and we'll see how long it takes and how noisy it is. So there's the giant stopwatch on my bike. What I'm going to do is start it, because it'll take me a few seconds to actually get that over the valve, and I'll press the start button exactly on 10 seconds. Just a little bit about the target pressures I'm going to be aiming for. So this is a Schwalbe Marathon 28 by 2 inch tyre. Its recommended pressures are 35 up to 70 psi. I normally run it at 35 on the front, 40 on the rear. I just do not like hard tyres. I'd rather have a softer, more comfy ride. But when I go touring, I do pump the rear one up to 60 psi, because when it's loaded with panniers, it just feels that's about the right pressure for me. It's that balance between allowing for the extra weight and still being a relatively comfortable ride. So I'm going to set that up to 60 psi and do what I would consider to be the most extreme case on here. As I said, it's fairly easy to put the pressure up, and then that will go to 0. The reason that's gone to 0 is it's now in use mode. So as it starts pumping up, I will actually see the pressure on that readout. Okay, ready for the test. So it's set to 60. There's 3 bars there. That's the power. So it's fully charged. So I'm going to set the phone timer now and engage this exactly at 10 seconds. 9, 10. 59, 205, and can you see 2 bars on the power display remaining? So the readout on the display was 205 when that kicked out at 60 psi. That actually translates to 1 minute 55 seconds, because I allowed myself 10 seconds just to get everything in place. I'm now going to do the same experiment with the 700C wheel. The tyre is the Schwalbe Durano 700 by 25C. Its recommended running pressures are a minimum of 85 and a maximum of 115 psi. I always ride at 85 psi, so I think this is a realistic road test. Completely flat, same again. I press the timer, give myself a few seconds to get the pump in place, and then press start, bang on 10 seconds. The body itself is still quite warm from the first test. Can you see the label starting to peel off? There we go. I've set it to 85 psi. It will switch off at that pressure. And there's 2 of the 3 power bars remaining at the bottom. 9, 10, starting. 80. 57 seconds. Wow, that was quite an eye-opener. 57 seconds. Subtract the 10 seconds that I allowed to get this into place and get myself positioned. That was 47 seconds. Substantially quicker. Obviously the narrower tyre, even though it was higher pressure, allowed the air to get in much quicker. I did notice the same pattern on this one though. It shoots up really quick. You can see the digital display changing and going up. And when it gets to about 2/3 of the way, it tends to slow down. Must be working much, much harder. But this one was so much quicker. Higher pressure, much more air volume, and you can really tell that from the test times. Just the final thoughts on this e-pump. I'm sure all the different branded ones are more or less the same. It's USB-C rechargeable. At the moment I got it plugged into the mains, but clearly I can use the power pack on the road. How much energy that consumes I do not know. I do know the phones use a lot, but everything else like the lights, my cameras, my GPS, etc., they don't use much. So it'd be interesting to see how much power that consumes from a power pack. And the other thing is, I did notice the body of it got very, very warm. It's still warm now, a few minutes after the test. So I would urge you, and it's even warning you there, keep your hands well away from any metal parts. The pump nozzle and the valve, just do not touch them. And I did say I'd made a mistake in the narration on one of the videos, so I want to put that right here and now. It's really important to me, honesty and integrity. It's just how I'm wired. It's why I quite often put my mistakes right on the screen. You'll see a star either side. So I need to read from a piece of paper for this one. That mistake was to do with the Camp Finder app. I downloaded it from the Google Play Store because I use a Google Pixel phone, and I did say it was available on the Apple Store. Well, when I just went to confirm that, it's not available on the Apple Store, but it can be used through their Safari browser on the iPhone or the iPad, or there are other apps available. Maybe try them and see how you get on, if there's any downloadable apps. But as I say, I'm not affiliated to Camp Finder. I just find it works for me perfectly, and what I liked it was the first one I tried, and it just seems instinctively easy to use. Anyway, the final part to this 3-parter Shakedown camp ride video series, and thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.